I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome here to Phoenix International Raceway as it plays host to race number 5 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Under the lights here in the desert as we prepare for 78 circuits around this racetrack. The old configuration of Phoenix. The dog leg is the back straightaway. The straightaway is the start-finish line, the front stretch, which means we're going to have to get back into the calling of what is now 1 and 2 as 3 and 4, and what is now 3 and 4 as 1 and 2. But in the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series, we actually have fluctuated back and forth between Phoenix and ISM. Here tonight, though, we're at the old configuration for the 7th time that we have visited this racetrack. Albeit, doesn't matter where they've placed the start-finish line. On the pole position here tonight is going to be Michael Norman, 3-time winner last season, 7th overall in the first 4 races this season. Very fast in qualifying. He was the fastest in his group in round 1, and then, of course, got the pole position in round 2, just barely, over James Qualls. James Qualls also been consistent to start out the season. He is 2nd in overall points, 6 points behind Casey Hoyt. Of course, lost the points lead last week at Pocono when he was pretty much mired mid-pack, but there were a good dozen drivers that also had that same fate, couldn't really move their way to the front. But James Qualls so far this season, 2 top 5s in the first 4 races. He has the best averaging finishing position only to Matthew Rodriguez and Mike Tellier, but they have not made every start so far this year. Dylan Poteet was also very good in qualifying. Another driver that's running well in the point standings, 13th in overall points. Running a little bit of a cold streak after he hit a bump in the road last week at Pocono. He'll look to move back up into the top 10 in points. Remember, it's the top 10 in the point standings at the completion of the regular season that will advance into the playoffs along with 6 wildcard drivers. So drivers, even this early on in the season, are looking for that consistency, trying to build as much of a cushion as they can between themselves and 10th in the stands. I know there's a long ways to go here in the regular season, but I guarantee you these drivers were already making plans by the time the green flag dropped at Daytona. Speaking of Daytona, our Daytona 500 winner Matthew Rodriguez making his 3rd start on the year. Finally qualified back into one of these races after missing both Las Vegas and Pocono. Because of that, he has dropped to 22nd in the points, but he is inside the top 30 still, which means his win would count towards one of the wild card spots. He'll look to build some more points here tonight as he will make up the outside of row number 2. And then Kyler Sustre, the other former winner as a go or go home non-charter driver, of course, winning at Las Vegas, he's going to complete the top 5. Kyler Sustre making his 4th start on the year. He ended up getting that win at Las Vegas, but Manassas, he had a crash, and last week had an engine failure at Pocono, so he's hoping that some good mojo will come his way as he'll start inside of the top 5. Time to go down trackside, though, get those most famous words in motorsports, and get ready to go racing here today, or tonight, rather, in the desert.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Nice and easy, long day. It's going to be a lot of adjustments. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. This is a real race here. We're going to have a blast tonight. I can't wait to get out there and get going.
Right side of your screen, you see the 42 car starting lineup. A couple of drivers consider this their home track. RJ Bishop in the 98, Matt McIntyre in the 21, both going to be starting pretty deep in the field here today. We'll see if track position is going to be important here at Phoenix, or if drivers will be able to work their way up to the front. 78 laps of racing, at least one pit stop that these drivers are going to have to make. Not exactly certain when that is going to be, since I'm not really certain if these drivers are going to really be concerned with the fuel window. I think tires are going to be the premium here. I know that obviously nighttime conditions, a little bit more grip in the racetrack, but we are in Avondale, Arizona. It's not necessarily known for being cool here, but Michael Norman is going to be the one to bring us to green, and we are underway here at Phoenix Raceway. We have 4 former winners at Phoenix in the field here tonight. 3 of them out of the S3 Motorsports stables. There's Norman blocking both lanes. Poteet had a good run there through the dogleg, but now he's side by side with Qualls for second place. Big run there through 3 and 4 for Poteet. He's going to get alongside of Norman, who had to bail out of the throttle. Who's going to lead the first lap? Is there 3 wide back there with Jessica Shelton in the middle, Mitchell Collins on the top, and Daniel Boyles on the bottom. Norman did lead the first lap of the evening. Looks like they've settled out that 3 wide. No, they have not. Shelton's still stuck in the middle. LaPlante now on the bottom, and they're 3 wide up at the front. Kyler Sustre sticks his nose in there. Shades of what he was able to do against Charles Sanford and Casey Hoyt back at Las Vegas when he got that victory on the one-lap shootout. Took it to the bottom 3 wide. This time, though, not going to work out for him. Norman's going to keep the spot as he swung around the outside, and he'll block all 3 lanes going into turn 1. Sustre still on the bottom 3 wide there. Poteet in the middle. Qualls up on the top side. It's like Shelton's finally gotten clear of that 3 wide she was in. They're stacked up behind her. But Shelton was the inaugural winner here at Phoenix all the way back in season 1. And then her teammates Kyle Matthews and Charles Sanford all went to victory lane the following 2 seasons here at Phoenix, giving S3 Motorsports 3 straight victories at this racetrack. Ryan Brommer, who's also in the field here tonight, then went to victory lane in season 4, and those are the 4 drivers that are in the field tonight that have formerly won here at Phoenix. The other 2 race winners not in the field. Bradley Ream won back during season 5 in the 74 out of Lake Effect Autosport, and then last year the defending winner was Jack Dunnard, who went to victory lane, his only victory on the season, in the 88 out of Northeast Motorsports. Connor Breton behind the wheel of that machine this year. Some good fighting up here at the front, but Michael Norman has been able to turn back all challengers. Now it's Matthew Rodriguez around the outside of James Qualls in the battle for second place. Rodriguez, I believe, is Mike Clear. He got a good run there on the top side of the 4. Crosses over with the momentum to the inside of Michael Norman for the race lead going into turn 1. And he is clear. Matthew Rodriguez out in front in the Caterpillar Toyota Camry out of Haas Racing, looking for his 2nd win on the season as a go-or-go-home non-charter driver. James Qualls, Dylan Poteet, they've kind of been deadlocked since the drop of the green. Now they're battling for 3rd. Kyler Sustre peeking 3 wide, and he is going to make it 3 wide. Daniel Voiles around the top side in the 26. Got to be looking forward to next week. We're at North Wilkesboro. Doubleheader coming back with the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers next week. But I mentioned North Wilkesboro, a place that Daniel Boyle's looking forward to, because last year he pulled off the last of first challenge. Started last on the grid, and by the end of the night he picked up what was his first checkered flag of his career, and would end up ultimately being one of 2 victories on the season for the 26 car, as he got shuffled way up there. Nathan Ormond's now in the middle with James Qualls on the bottom. A couple of former teammates right there in Ormond and Qualls. Ormond used to drive for Joanna Atwood Motorsports, now over with Michael Norman Motorsports, as he's right behind his team owner there in the 22. Nathan Ormond beginning the climb through the point standings. First couple of races, Daytona and Manassas, he had, I think I remember, it was like only 9 points he had accumulated. Since then, though, Las Vegas, Pocono have been very kind to him. He has got himself now up to the 23rd position in points. Ooh, some contact made there between him and Kyler Sustre. Little door banging. As Rodriguez has scampered away with the race lead. This is the battle for second place between Dylan Poteet and James Qualls. And last time by, Ticker says this battle's about 8/9 of a second behind the 80 car. If one of these two can get themselves broken away from the other, they might be able to try reeling in Matthew Rodriguez, who is enjoying the clean air, and now Dylan Poteet is going to get clear of Qualls, or is he? Qualls going to battle back on the inside, got a little tight there through the center, and Poteet will indeed clear for second place. So now we'll see if Poteet can run down Matthew Rodriguez for the top position and keep them stacked up side by side behind him for third. We'll do a little comparison of lap times between these two once Poteet does indeed break free. James Qualls, Kyler Sustre going to be the battle for third place. Nathan Ormond up on the top side, Jessica Shelton on the bottom. That's for fifth position. Ooh, Qualls got really tight there on the bottom, had to bail out of the throttle. Shelton's going to jump to his outside now. Sustre and Ormond were able to get around him for third and fourth. And now Ormond will look to the inside of Sustre for third place. They've been able to keep in touch with Dylan Poteet, who was not able to break away and try reeling in Matthew Rodriguez. Comparison of lap times. Last time by, Matthew Rodriguez 30.240, Poteet 30.458. So Rodriguez running about 0.2 quicker than Dylan Poteet. This time by, he runs in the fours, does Rodriguez, and Poteet just ran his fastest lap of the race. He had a 30.318, so Poteet closes it down by 1/10 that time by. And we'll see if now, with them kind of single-filed behind him with Sustre and Ormond, if that progress will continue. Top 5 now going to be completed by Chris Dollerton in the 83. Dollerton 32nd in the point standings. We've well documented last year the struggles that that team had winning the season opening Daytona 500, but by the end of the regular season they weren't inside the top 30 in the point standings, so that did not count towards a playoff position. First driver ever to win the Daytona 500 and not advance into the playoffs. We may end up having a second season of that, but again, you kind of look back at last year. Dollerton ran all 36 races. Matthew Rodriguez has to qualify into every race that he starts. Next week at North Wilkesboro should be interesting to see how the go or go home drivers fare. Then we go to Indianapolis. And then the following week, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got our first road course stop of the season, as we're going to be flying to the other side of the world. We'll be in Suzuka at the Suzuka East Racecourse, and that's when we're going to start to have the possibility of some of your charter drivers not making the main event race, as it is a limited number grid for that road course race. So you look at some of these drivers that are mired down there in the bottom of the point standings, like Kyle Matthews and Nick Gunther, Matt McIntyre, Joshua Osborne, Caleb Fogler. These guys got to pick it up here in these next 2 or 3 weeks. They don't want to put themselves in a bad position heading into that road course race. Especially when you consider Nick Gunther, 2 of his 4 victories last season came at road courses, Sonoma and the Charlotte Roval. So he doesn't want to miss out on that Suzuka race, I guarantee you of that, as Poteet was closing in on Matthew Rodriguez, but Kyler Sustre ran him down, and now they're side by side for the runner-up spot. That's going to help Matthew Rodriguez. Michael Norman started on the pole, got shuffled back via the top side. He's now slotted into the 9th position, right ahead of the 48 of Austin LaPlante. James Qualls right now running in 6th. Let's find out where the guy he's battling for the points lead is at, Casey Hoyt. Hoyt did not have a good qualifying effort, and it shows. He is mired back here in the 33rd position. Anthony McCurry and Reese Banks battling ahead of him. He's going to force the issue 3 wide here on both of those race cars. Reese Banks, I believe, started in the final row He started last in this race. He's been able to pick up about 10 spots since the drop of the green flag. Anthony McCrory, he's been on the uptrend lately. 15th in overall points coming into this one. And I believe Matt McIntyre there in the 21, he either started in the next to last or last row. And he's been able to work his way into the top 30 now, 28th last time by. There's last week's winner, Levi McIntyre. Last time by, he was scored in 25th position. With that victory, Levi jumped up 16 spots in the standings to 5th overall. Kind of boxed in right now, trying to work his way forward, but it's not so easy at a track like Phoenix. If we're going to move forward, you've got to do it slowly, methodically, figure out which line is moving, where there's space to run. Carson Gum loots there through the dog leg on the back straightaway. Ooh, little contact between him and Zach Rogers. Destin Bolin up on the top side of that 3 wide in the 12. Looks like Rogers going to be the one to back out of that 3 wide situation. 3 wide up here, Ryan Brommer. Last driver in the field to take a checkered flag here back in Season 4. He's got Mitchell Collins in the middle, Dylan Young up on the outside line. It's just outside the top 10, actually. That 3 wide battle. Ooh, as there's contact. Brommer into Collins into Young. This battle right here is taking place around the 12th, 13th, 14th positions. Cole Deaver there in the 3. Good run for him as he and Michael Norman, they're side by side for 10th place right now. And I believe Cole Deaver is going to clear for that spot and look for more on Austin LaPlante. That's 9th place. May have a battle for the lead. Chris Dollerton got around both Dylan Poteet and Kyler Sustre when they were battling for 2nd place, and he has reeled in Matthew Rodriguez for the top spot. Dollerton's lap time's much quicker than Matthew Rodriguez. Last time by, he was 0.6 of a second quicker. So if he gets the inside of Rodriguez, he may blow his doors off, and here he goes. Looking to the bottom here over in 3 and 4. A little shallow entry, saw him have to lift out of the throttle. Have to tuck in line and try again. Got to pick your moments here. We're 23 laps into this run, so obviously the tires have worn quite a bit. That right front tire heat kicking up. The tight sensation, the aero tightness when in the draft of somebody is going to get exacerbated the more laps you put on it. Dollerton going to bide his time, maybe wait for Matthew Rodriguez to make a mistake. Maybe try and cool that tire down a little bit, get some grip for when he makes a move. Might not want to wait too long because Kyler Sustre might be reeling in those top 2 and he'd make it a 3-man fight for the top spot. Dollerton going to try again down here into 1. This time that car looked a lot steadier, but can he get back to the throttle is the question. Instead of the left rear quarter panel, he's trying to. Now turn 3 here, it's going to be tough on the bottom. Rodriguez has the arc going into the corner on the outside line, and there you see him be able to get to the throttle through the center a lot earlier than Chris Dollerton. Holds off Dollerton for the top position, and Sustre used that to his advantage. He is now closed up on this battle. So 3-way battle for the top spot. Sustre and Rodriguez, a couple of non-charter drivers. Both former winners this season, trying to get their 2nd wins. We've had such an unusual start to the year. We had Rodriguez, non-charter driver, win the 500. We had a rookie in Casey Hoyt win at Manassas. And again, I've talked about this. We had a lot of rookies win the first half of last year's regular season, but we only got 4 full-time rookies this year, so it was kind of unusual that a rookie won that early. And then you had a non-charter driver at Las Vegas and Kyler Sustre. The only normality we really had was last week with Levi McIntyre winning at Pocono, and even then, he snapped about a 3.5 season winless streak. So I know we're only 5 races into the season, but this has been anything but predictable in the early going of Season 7. The top 3 having their little battle. This is 4th place on back. Dylan Poteet, James Qualls, Nathan Orman, Jessica Shelton, all stacked up. 4th place on back. Add Cole Deaver and Ryan Brommer into this mix. Again, not certain what the fuel window is for these drivers, but We do know that if they can make it 39 laps or more, then they'd be able to make it on one stop. We are only about 10 laps away from that point, so we'll see if these drivers do eclipse the lap 40 mark or such, and then we'll know that we could have a money stop in the final 30 or some laps of this race. Let's look for some other drivers that are running well in the point standings and where they're at. Qualls and Cole Deaver up here inside of the top 10. We saw Levi McIntyre 5th in points. What about the 65 of Rob Evans, 3rd in overall standings? Where is he currently running? There he is. Wow, he's mired all the way back in the 38th spot. The 9D Creative Chevrolet out of Evans Motorsports. Reese Banks back here. Banks 6th in the point standings. So it's almost kind of like what happened last week at Pocono, where drivers were kind of boxed in, couldn't move forward. We're seeing the kind of same deal here for drivers that are mid-pack rear of the field at Phoenix. There's Nick Gunther, 36th on the board right now. 42nd in the standings coming into this one. This is not the Nick Gunther of Season 6, that is for sure. 4-time winner, regular season champion last year, but struggling here tonight. RJ Bishop, thought we'd see a lot more out of him at his home track. Did not qualify well, and that has translated to him not running well, as he's 37th right now. And Matt Haas all the way back here in 38th place. Matt Haas 28th in overall points. Last year, very consistent driver. Should have made the playoffs, even though he didn't have a victory until the playoffs began. Keith Batson, Will Goss, a couple of Fords back here in 39th and 40th, struggling. Keith Batson is 11th in overall points, and Will Goss is 14th. As a matter of fact, Will Goss is very much so in the Rookie of the Year points battle. He and Connor Breeden are tied for 2nd, 3 points behind Casey Hoyt. Both of those drivers not getting the runs they were looking for so far in this one. And then here's the last 2 cars in the field. Zachary Fitzwater all the way back here in 41st. 16th in overall points coming into this one. And Charles Sanford, the defending champion, who had that runner-up finish back at Las Vegas. Charles comes into this race 20th in points, and he is dead last on the grid right now. All 42 cars are still running and on the lead lap, but Sanford's coming out of 4. Dollarton's going into 3. Those two, the 66 and the 03, they are in danger of going a lap down here, as Dollarton finally completed the pass for the lead. We didn't see it live, but Dollarton did get the top position away from Matthew Rodriguez, and now he is out in front. Chris Dollarton looking for his first win on the season. Louisville Automotive last year, I believe they only had 1 victory via Caleb Fogler. I'll have to double check on that, but I believe that's the only victory they had. They then signed Chris Dollarton this season. Dollarton trying to do what he can to get back into the playoff picture. Of course, the inaugural champion back in Season 1 for the Duracell Cup Series. Rodriguez not letting him go, though. Matthew Rodriguez, in the 2 starts that he's made this season, a win and a third. And both took place in this 80 car. Of course, Rodriguez, the 2 races he failed to qualify for, Las Vegas and Pocono. He attempted to qualify in the 17 out of Bishop Family Racing. Mike Tellier last night, he attempted to qualify for his 2nd start of the year in that car, failed to qualify. Rodriguez and Sustre were the 2 go-or-go-homers that made the show. The good news for Rodriguez, I think for the near future, is because nobody else is slated to be in the 80 car for a while. I think the next driver that's going to be in the 80, aside from Rodriguez, is Benny Watson, I think. And I think that's when we go to Dover. Rodriguez seems very comfortable in this Toyota Camry. He is losing ground now, though, to Chris Dollerton, who this next time by, when he hits the start-finish line, will have crossed the halfway threshold. So, safe to say, one-stop race. Question is, when do you make that pit stop? Looking at fall-off here for lap times, most of these guys up here in the clean air, they are running about half a second to 0.6 slower than their fastest lap. Rodriguez ran a half second slower. Dollerton ran a half second slower. James Qualls, who we're focused on here, he ran about 6.5 tenths slower. So there is definitely tire wear, but not quite as bad as I was expecting. You would have thought maybe around this point we would have seen maybe even a second plus fall off, but we're not seeing that here. Things are starting to get spread out at the front of the field, though. Ryan Brommer now into the 5th spot. Kyle Matthews into 6th. Good run for him, well-needed run of the 40 drivers that have taken evergreen flags so far here this season. Kyle Matthews is last of those drivers. He is 43rd in overall points. Looking good. Former winner here at Phoenix. That was in Season 2. Got a couple of former winners right there duking it out. Brommer and Matthews. S3 Motorsports, aside from Charles Samper doing well in this one, Kyle Matthews, who we just saw, in the 6th position. Cole Deaver is in 8th, and Jessica Shelton, that Project Dodge Intrepid, right now holding down the final spot inside of the top 10. How about Levi McIntyre? We saw he was kind of boxed in when we last checked on him. He was outside of the top 20, and now he has worked his way up into the 14th position, right behind the 2 of Dylan Young, who had to lift out of the throttle there through 3 and 4. Allows Daniel Voiles to get around the both of them. Ryan Butcher in the 78, right now 15th, working his way up towards the top 10. Ryan Butcher coming into this race in the 33rd position in points, so he needs a good run here this evening. Talk about Auto Junction Racing and how strong they've been last few seasons, getting into the playoffs. They had the 77 and the 78 team in the playoffs in Season 5. Last year, the 77 and the 78 made the playoffs with Butcher and Chung. Jose Mills in the 38, most winningest driver in the Duracell Cup Series, but went winless all of last season. Struggled at the beginning of the year, first 2 or 3 races, trending in the right direction after a decent run last week at Pocono, up 4 spots coming into this one, 31st though still in overall, so 14th on the board right now, looking good. Looks like Cole Deaver got around Nathan Ormond, he's starting to pull away with the 7th position, Ormond back to 8th. Ryan Brommer and Kyle Matthews have caught James Qualls. Brommer puts the pass on Qualls to move to 4th. Kyle Matthews now looking to crack into the top 5. We're starting to see the comers and goers of long run speed to short run speed. I think tire conservation coming into play in a big way there. See if Matthews can complete the pass here on Qualls down through 3 and 4. No, Qualls is going to hold for the moment. No, Matthews battles back. Qualls battles back. They remain deadlocked down the front straightaway. This might allow Cole Deaver the opportunity to close in, as well as Nathan Ormond. Put that final spot inside the top 5 up for grabs for a few drivers. Matthews looks to clear off of 2, and he will. So Matthews now into the 5th position officially. Brommer is starting to close in on Kyler Sustre. Brommer may have one of the faster cars up here inside of the top 5 as Looks like Charles Sanford and Zachary Fitzwater, they've been caught and passed by Dollerton and Rodriguez. Kyler Sustre is now going to have to deal with them, and that might help Ryan Brommer in his quest to move up into the top 3. 30 laps to go this next time by. So far, we have remained green here tonight at Phoenix. And we've got one pit stop at some point looming over these drivers' heads. Going to be the money stop as Sustre to the inside of Sanford. He'll look to pass Fitzwater here as well. Kyle Matthews is closing up on this battle too, so could have a 3-car fight for the final spot on the podium. Matthews, big run there out of turn 2. As Brommer going to use Sanford as a pick. Put Sustre in the middle. Not going to work there through 3 and 4. Well, maybe it is. Sustre had to check up for Fitzwater on that outside line. But Brommer cannot stay to the left rear quarter panel of the 4. And now the 4 will get to the inside of Fitzwater, the lap machine. So Dollerton and Rodriguez appeared to make pretty quick work of the 2 slower cars. Dollerton now is going to have some pretty clean racetrack. He's got about maybe a third of the racetrack, maybe a little more than that, before he'd get to the next car of Will Goss. And if he were to catch the 11, it wouldn't be anytime soon, so he can go back to focusing on lap times. Now, I don't know if there's anything in it, but remember when I was talking about the expecting lap times to fall off a lot more than they were, where we were running about half a second, 6/10 slower? That last time by, Dollerton just ran over a second slower. His fastest lap, a 30.0, and he just ran a 31.1. Let's see if that's the case this time around. Nope, that time he ran a 30.8, so he must have just missed his marks a bit there on that last lap. He's 0.8 of a second off of his fastest lap now. So there definitely is still wear. That's 0.2 slower than when we last were checking, but we have not yet reached the second threshold in fall off. Rodriguez 0.9 of a second slower than his fastest lap that time around. Kyle Matthews has moved his way into third, so after that excursion that third through fifth had, making their way around the 66 and the 03, Matthews goes to third. Brommer into fourth, Sustre drops back to fifth, and James Qualls in sixth position was closing up on this group. He'll try to see if he can reel in the 4, move his way back up into the top 5. Well, you want to talk about another driver that's got a good long run car? How about Levi McIntyre? Getting around the lap car of Fitzwater, putting the pressure on Cole Deaver. This is for 7th place. McIntyre started pretty deep in the field, did not have a great qualifying effort last night, but he's got a very good race car in terms of race pace. And whoa, you see him yanking left on the wheel there to try and get to the inside of Cole Deaver. That says to me the rear grip is going away on the Cheez-It Ford Mustang, but it's still fast though. Charles Sanford has got them stacked up here from 9th place on back. Nathan Orman, Dylan Poteet, Jessica Schulten, Daniel Boyles, Dylan Young, all here. Just inside and outside of the top 10. Carson Gum back here in the 17th place right now for the Fastenal Chevrolet. Carson 26th in points, 3 wide ahead of him there with LaPlante, Mills, and Poteet. Cody Lamas right behind him, 18th place for the 84. Cody 17th in overall points. Back-to-back good runs for him at both Las Vegas and Pocono. Looks like the inside line going to make their way around Sanford. Dylan Young getting stuck behind the 03 for the moment. Fitzwater up here now being worked on by Ormond and Schulten. Levi McIntyre completed the pass around Cole Deaver, move him up to 7th. Here's 5th place battle, James Qualls and Kyler Sustre. So Qualls really loose there off of turn 2. Chris Dollerton coming around to complete his 26th lap led. That ties him for most laps led with Matthew Rodriguez. Those are the only two that have been out in front with the exception of Michael Norman. Rodriguez and Dollerton have led 26 laps apiece. Michael Norman has led the other 5. And Dollerton, if he's going to complete this next lap, he will be in possession of the most laps led bonus point. Going to keep an eye on this three-way battle for the 5th spot. Qualls trying to get around Sustre, and McIntyre has reeled in the both of them. That just shows how good a car Levi McIntyre has, because look at how far back Cole Deaver is. Levi McIntyre has driven away from the 3. He has closed up on the 70 and the 4. I think it would take a caution, but I think if we end up having a yellow flag, Levi McIntyre has a car that could get up there and take the lead away from Chris Dollerton. Now he's going to get kind of boxed in here with Sustre on the top and Qualls on the bottom. McIntyre going to go to the inside line. Probably a smart choice. Inside line passes have been able to be made down here in 1 and 2, not as much through 3 and 4. Qualls should be able to clear the 4 off of 2 here. And McIntyre is going to actually try and pass them both through 3 and 4. Let's see if he can make this pass work. Oh, almost contact between the two. He sends Qualls up the track. That might have been what it takes to make a pass here in 3 and 4. Qualls going to battle back on the top side, though. I think McIntyre's going to have the advantage through 1 and 2, though, on that inside line if he can stay to the left rear, which he will. Deaver closing up on this battle as well. And just like that, in the matter of about a lap and a half, Levi McIntyre will go from 7th up into the top 5. Off the heels of that victory last week at Pocono. Feeling the momentum, and our top 4 are about to have a blanket thrown over them. Rodriguez is back on the bumper of Chris Dollerton, and Kyle Matthews, Ryan Brommer are closing in. So this could get very interesting in terms of the checkered flag. Also, something that could be interesting is we are nearing 10 to go. I would have thought if these drivers could not make it on fuel, they would be on pit road at least by now. Maybe these guys can make it the entire 78 laps on fuel. It is CTS physics, but also a number of our races this season have been set to just 1x wear, which means that they may not necessarily have a guaranteed pit stop. I did not check what the fuel window was for these drivers before they went out onto the racetrack, so they might be able to make it the 78 scheduled laps. The pace is definitely back down here with this long green flag run, so maybe they've had the opportunity to save if they were borderline close. Well, Matthews and Brommer have caught the top 2. We now have a 4-way fight for the top spot, potentially for the checkered flag. All 3 of these drivers, for different reasons, want that checkered flag. For Dollerton, he's looking for his first win on the season, looking for some playoff redemption from what happened to him back in Season 6. Matthew Rodriguez is looking to continue his quest for the wild card spot. A second victory would certainly help out in that regard. Kyle Matthews, former winner last season, trying to make it back into the playoffs. Former champion from Season 5. Looking for to be the first multi-time winner here at Phoenix as well. Same can be said for Ryan Brommer, who's just looking to get back to victory lane. We saw Levi McIntyre snap his winless streak last week. Brommer is on a winless streak as of right now. Don't know the exact number of races, but it's a pretty lengthy one. And you saw Matthews complete the pass around Rodriguez, moving into second place. Now he's going to go to work on Dollerton for the race lead. First challenge for the lead that Dollerton has had in the last 33 laps. And he's trying to put up a fight here on the back straightaway. Matthews is not clear yet. Dollerton's going to have the outside line advantage here through 3 and 4. Rodriguez waiting to see which line opens up. Drag race back to the stripe. Who's going to lead the lap? It will be Dollerton. But Matthews has the inside advantage this time, going into 1 and 2. Brommer now to the inside of Rodriguez for the 3rd spot. And Matthews is clear. Kyle Matthews, first time tonight, puts the Kings Island Chevrolet into the clean air. Closing on 10 to go, and Dollarton with the crossover, going into 3. Not going to be able to make it work. Keeping an eye on Levi McIntyre's lap times here with these 4 battling. McIntyre's got himself cleared of 5th place James Qualls, who is duking it out with Kyler Sustre still. Looking to see if these guys continue to battle, if McIntyre has enough time to get up here and maybe battle inside of the top 4. This might help him because the slower traffic that I was talking about of Keith Batson and Will Goss, they have now been reeled in. Will Goss is going to be the first one for Kyle Matthews to have to deal with. He'll show the nose to the inside going into 1. Not going to be able to get to the left rear quarter panel though. Will Goss going to block him. Will Goss is not obligated to let these guys by. He's battling to try and stay on the lead lap. I know it's the closing stage and the checkered flag's on the line, but that doesn't matter. Caution could come out. Whoa, we got some pit stops happening. No, we don't. We have a wreck. That's RJ Bishop. The engine is blown on the 98, and we've got a caution. So there's why Will Goss was battling. Caution out. RJ Bishop was smoking in the middle of 3 and 4. Somebody else was involved in this. You can clearly see that was not just a single car incident. There's front end damage on the Arizona Sports Team Ford GT500. It's got the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks there. Looked like when they came back to receive the caution, looked like Will Goss stayed on the lead lap. Keith Batson went a lap down, but he will be the recipient of the lucky dog as RJ Bishop coming back onto the racing surface. Almost ran into the back of Connor Breton there. I don't know who the other car was that he got into over there in 3 and 4. I thought that what we saw over in 3 and 4 with the leaders were maybe a couple of drivers coming to pit road, but no, instead it was drivers that were trying to get out of the way of the wreck. And after all of that, Matthew Rodriguez was able to swing around Matthews and Dollarton, so he is the leader on this upcoming restart. Here's a look at what brought out the caution. Oh, Anthony McCrory gets into the right rear quarter panel of RJ Bishop, turns him up into Reese Banks. And here you're going to see, as that car is obviously damaged and off the pace, here's the leaders coming on by. And you saw the 80 there on the top side. He kept his foot in the throttle. It's raced back to the line. Since the 83 and the 09 on the bottom had to check up, Matthew Rodriguez and Ryan Brommer were able to swing around. And they crossed the line in 1st and 2nd. Here's another look at the incident here. And head on into the wall there for RJ Bishop. Pretty extensive damage to the right front for Anthony McCrory. And Reese Banks looks like most of his damage was sustained to the back end. And here's that pack I was talking about right there. See, Matthews and Dollarton had to check up on the bottom. But the 2 Toyotas on the top, they were able to go around, lead them back. Keith Batson was also trapped on the bottom line, so that's how he ended up going a lap down, but being the first car 1 lap down coming to the stripe, he is going to be the recipient of the lucky dog as we had some pit stops. And our race leaders were some of those that came to pit road, including Matthew Rodriguez, Kyler Sustre, Chris Dollarton, Nathan Orman, Dylan Young, Jesse Turner, Cody Lamas, Austin LaPlante. Were they coming to pit road for tires or were they coming to pit road for fuel? I do not know. This restart's going to be with less than 10 to go, probably 5 or 6 laps remaining. Looks like we ended up having all but about 16 drivers that elected to come down pit road here under this caution. And Kyle Matthews, as a result, is going to be the leader. Cole Deaver, I think, is coming in this lap. Ryan Brommer gave up the lead to come down pit road the previous lap. We've got some fuel games going on here. Yeah, Deaver's coming in. We'll wait for scoring to update, find out exactly how many drivers are playing the fuel game of staying out and how many came to pit road. Trying to look back here and see visually how many have stayed out. Looks like maybe about 13 or 14 drivers. So will these drivers be able to make it on fuel, or will they run out? We've got the 1 to green. RJ Bishop's going to be the only driver up at this point that is going to DNF from this race, finishing in 42nd, so a tough homecoming for the Arizona driver. 41 drivers will continue on. 39 will be on the lead lap. We're going to have to be on professional again and add the lap back for Batson manually here on your screen, since we have to wait until the green flag drops to be able to do that. Kyle Matthews going to be the leader. Levi McIntyre looking for that second straight victory will be on the outside of the front row. James Qualls, Jessica Shelton, Ryan Butcher are going to be the top 5. That's going to be Jose Mills, Daniel Voiles, Zach Rogers, Carson Gum, and Matt McIntyre. That is the top 10. As green flag will come out with 5 laps remaining here at Phoenix. And there's a bunch of drivers up here that have 70-plus lap old tires in front of some fresh rubber, which is restarting back around the 13th position. Oh, and Kyle Matthews might be out of fuel. McIntyre's out of fuel. They're all running out of fuel up here at the front. And everyone's piling in. We got a flip back there. That's Reggie Fogelman. These drivers are all out of fuel. They're trying to make it back to the pit road. And I think Qualls is going to lead them back. No, it was Jessica Shelton led them back, receives the caution, and I think this race is going to end under yellow. I never got the opportunity to add Keith Batson's lap back because of the caution flying. They all just ran out of fuel up there at the front. It started with Kyle Matthews. Levi McIntyre was running out of fuel. They thought they could make it. Look at that. McIntyre's not even able to make it back to his pit stall. And I think this race is going to end under yellow. But Shelton, I think, is pitting. Shelton's pitting under caution. Who's going to be the leader? It might be Dylan Young in the 2 car, who crossed the line in 6th, and he has been to pit road. Shelton can't even make it on the pacing laps here. Qualls is in. Carson Gum, Daniel Voiles. Dylan Young's inheriting the lead. And Young, Turner, Poteet, I can confirm those drivers, they have pit. Matt McIntyre in the 21 is the outlier. He has not pit yet. Does he have enough fuel to make it? Destin Bolin, Rodriguez, Sustre, they've all pit. Will Goss is sputtering there on the apron of 1 and 2. He can't make it back around. What a topsy-turvy finish to this one, huh? Well, we're going to have 2 to go next time by. Dylan Young showing the way. Let's see if we can. We still got cars that are literally stopped on the racetrack right now. Quentin Moore is stopped on the back straightaway. Ryan Butcher is stopped over in the exit of turn 2. Here it was. Battle for the race lead. All of a sudden, fuel pressure goes down to 0-9. He's trying to get out of the way, and then McIntyre runs out of fuel right in front of Jose Mills, and then they all just start piling in. These drivers realize that those others are out of fuel. They're looking to capitalize. Reggie Fogelman went up in the air after a big hit from, I think that was Cole Deaver. Just look at this. Look at all the drivers. It's like highway traffic trying to make their way around. Kyle Matthews trying to get out of the way. Everybody racing back with the caution. Keith Batson smoking. Cole Deaver, a lot of damage. There's McIntyre stuck there on the back straightaway. You'll see it here again when we focus on the 99. Watch the 94 behind him of Shelton fly right on by. And where is Dylan Young? There he is. There's the Wawa Ford down there, snaking his way through right in front of Jesse Turner. Wow. I've not seen one of those in a while. All those drivers thought they were going to have enough, that they could save enough there under that caution period to be able to make it back around. That was not the case. Looks like Ryan Butcher's finally made it back to pit road. Will Goss has made it back to pit road. I don't know if they got there under their own power, if they had to call a tow. But Dylan Young, only one top 10 the first 4 starts of the season, 30th in overall points. He's going to see the white flag here one more time around, and Dylan Young will be the 5th different winner on the season. Jesse Turner in 2nd place right now, which means that this will be the 3rd second place finish that he's had this season. He finished 2nd in the 500. He finished 2nd the following week at Manassas. And now he's in line to be bridesmaid for the 3rd time this season. Dylan Poteet right now in 3rd. Matt McIntyre still hanging on. He's got battle scars on the side of that car and everything after he started very deep in the field. I think he started, if not last, in the final row. And he has not pit the entire of this race. Only 2 drivers have not pit this entire race with these cautions. That would be Matt McIntyre and Mitchell Collins. Collins right now slated to finish in 10th position. Destin Bolin right now is going to complete the top 5. Rodriguez is going to be 6th. Sustre right behind him in 7th. So those non-charter former winners going to get top 10 runs here tonight. And out of turn 4 for the final time. Right place, right time, and having the fuel to make it. It's the Wawa Ford Mustang of Dylan Young who's going to pick up the victory here tonight in a crazy finish at Phoenix. Collins out of fuel, but he managed to coast across the start-finish line. There you saw Shelton. She got through the wreck, but had to pit late. Same for James Qualls and a couple of others. They're not going to finish where they were hoping. They're going to finish outside of the top 20. 21 is still under power. I don't know how. 33 is out of fuel. But Dylan Young going to be back-to-back wins for the Fords. Levi winning last week at Pocono. Dylan Young winning this week. Dylan Young, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be another driver snapping a long winless streak. He was, to my knowledge, winless in Season 5, winless in Season 6. I know he was winless in Season 6. That I know for certain. Season 5, I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure that the 2-car did not go to victory lane at all. Maybe Adam Garcia got them a win. I can't remember, but I don't think Dylan Young won in Season 5, so that'd be about a 2+ season winless streak snap for Dylan Young. And remember last year, Dylan Young was the only driver out of Young Motorsports who did not find victory lane. Destin Bolin went to victory lane 3 times, RJ Bishop twice, but it was a goose egg in the win column for Dylan Young. Not the case here this season. It's Dylan Young finding victory lane here under the lights at Phoenix. Man, it was looking like it was going to be a clean and green race right down to the end. And then we ended up having that wreck over in 3 and 4, and that changed up everything. Well, the standings are official. They've been able to figure out who was able to make it back to the start-finish line, who wasn't. And Dylan Young is your winner. Jesse Turner, Dylan Poteet, Matt McIntyre, and Destin Bolin, the top 5. How about Matt McIntyre? Good home race for him after he gets top 5. Matthew Rodriguez, who led the 2nd most laps, gets 6th. Kyler Sustre in 7th. So it'll be interesting to see where those two are positioned points-wise heading into next week, as they'll be looking to attempt to qualify once again at North Wilkesboro. Casey Hoyt, he was kind of out of the points lead conversation with where he was running when we checked, and Qualls was up inside the top 10 pretty much the entire evening. But the fortunes change on both those drivers with that caution. Casey Hoyt brings it home in the 8th position, so he will probably keep the points lead going into North Wilkesboro next week. Austin LaPlante and Mitchell Collins completing the top 10. Connor Breton, 1 season removed from that 88, going to victory lane here. Brings it home 11th. Good run for him. In the 12th position, Ryan Brommer. Chris Dallerton, who led the most laps tonight, 13th. Michael Norman, the Polster, 14th. And Rob Evans will complete the top 15. Now you look at some of the drivers that finished down here that had great runs going and are not going to get the finishing result that they probably deserved. Some of them due to running out of fuel there on the back straightaway, and some of them due to having to pit late. Jessica Shelton had a strong car tonight. She's going to finish in 25th. Daniel Voiles up in the top 10 most of the second half of this race, and he'll be 26th. Carson Gum, 27th. James Qualls down in 29th. Kyle Matthews, who ran out of fuel while in the lead for that final caution, he'll finish 31st. Levi McIntyre back in 33rd position. Those drivers, not the finishes that they deserved by far. Same for Cole Deaver, was also a strong contender, and he finishes in 37th position. But that is going to do it here for this one at Phoenix. See those finishing results, drivers that weren't able to make it back to the checkered flag and etc. What a wild one here this evening, but that's been typical of the Duracell Cup Series races here in Season 7 so far. Just when you think you've got it figured out, curveball is thrown, and you end up with a race and a finish that you were not expecting. But a great one here tonight from Phoenix. Really enjoyed that. Kept us guessing, and Dylan Young snapping a winless streak, going back to victory lane for Young Motorsports. Hope you guys enjoyed this race. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We showed you your full finish results, and you are now looking at your point standings heading into next week. The doubleheader next week as the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers. They'll be back to join the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series drivers at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. The qualifying for Cup will be on Saturday, followed by the Duracell Ultra Light Series race, and then the Cup drivers, they will take to the track for their 6th race of the season on Sunday. But until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.